The chains were cold, not just to the touch, but in a way that seemed to seep straight into the soul. I stood in my quarters aboard the Archangel, staring down at the alien woman kneeling before me. Her wrists and ankles were locked in heavy, dark steel, restraints old enough to predate most modern security systems. The kind no one bothered to update because they didn't need to. They weren't meant to be clever. They were meant to be permanent. Something twisted in my gut. She lifted her head slowly. Her skin carried the deep hues of a storm at twilight, blue and violet blending together like a bruised sky. Her hair fell wild around her shoulders, smoke caught in motion. But it was her eyes that stole my breath. Stars, actual stars, shimmered in her irises, flecks of gold, drifting in endless depth. As if the universe itself had been trapped behind her lashes. They had called her my bride, a gift from the Volcari Dominion, bestowed in gratitude for my service during the Rim War, but I wasn't stupid. You don't wrap chains around a gift unless you're afraid it might escape, or afraid it might fight back. The ceremony had been brief and obscene. No music, no vows, just a cluster of rigid diplomats pushing her toward me as if she were cargo. Her knees buckled from exhaustion the moment she crossed the threshold of my quarters, collapsing under the cold deck plating. Then they left, the door sealed behind them, and silence swallowed the room. "You're safe now," I said, lowering myself to one knee beside her. She didn't answer. Her gaze stayed fixed on the floor, shoulders rigid, arms trembling faintly, the only sign she wasn't carved from stone. Reached for the locking mechanism on her nearest shackle. Ancient manual tech. That told me everything. The Dominion didn't want her escaping through clever tricks or hacking. They wanted brute force to be the only option, and brute force always leaves a trail of blood. The moment my fingers brushed the clasp, her hand shot out and clamped around my wrist with shocking strength. "No," she rasped out. Her voice was low, melodic and exhausted, like a song sung too many times in captivity. "Don't. If you free me, they'll hunt you too." I froze. "Who will?" She lifted her head, really looked at me, and for the first time I saw what lived behind those star-filled eyes. Fear. The royal houses. The cartel lords. The ones who sold me. And the ones who paid for me. Her name was Syria. And she wasn't a slave offered to a war hero as a reward. She was Volcari royalty, high-blooded nobility, betrayed by her own family and sold in secret. Her father had traded her life for political favor, offering her as a living treaty to Earth-aligned Dominion generals. Peace. Bought with chains. "You weren't supposed to survive the transport," she admitted later that night, her voice barely louder than the hum of the ship. "They assumed you'd die in some border skirmish before asking questions." I stared at her. They didn't expect me to care. She laughed softly, bitter and tired. "They never met you. They'll call you a traitor," she warned. "Or worse." "I've faced worse," I said. "No," she replied quietly. "You haven't." 3 days later, the Archangel received new orders. "Report to Dominion Command on Vorka Prime for debriefing." I'd worn the uniform long enough to know what that meant. "Come quietly, so we can erase you cleanly." That was when I made my choice. We ran. I falsified engine reports, rerouted our trajectory through forgotten smuggler corridors along the fringe. The moment we vanished from standard lanes, the messages started. First, the Dominion claimed I'd stolen diplomatic property. Then they labeled me rogue. By the end of the week, they placed an open bounty on both of us. I found Syria in the engine bay on the third night, huddled beneath the plasma core. Volcari didn't cry like humans. Their grief lived in silence and isolation. "You were going to let them kill you," I said. "Yes," she whispered. "Why?" She stared into the shifting light of the core. "Because they already took everything that made me who I was. My name, my title, my people. Would my life have mattered after that?" I sat beside her. "You still have your will. And you have me. She looked at me, really looked at me. You don't owe me anything. I don't, I agreed. But I choose to. They chased us across the stars. Pirates, bounty hunters, corrupt Earth officials desperate to bury the scandal. We slipped through asteroid fields, cloaked past patrols, and traded secrets for safe passage in systems that pretended we didn't exist. Somewhere along the way, survival became purpose, and purpose became connection. Syria wasn't just noble, she was brilliant. Fluent in 9 interstellar codes, able to dismantle Dominion security systems with a glance. She navigated gravitational currents by instinct and began to smile again. To laugh at my terrible jokes. We weren't running anymore. We were fighting back, eventually. We reached Cake Station in a neutral gray zone. An old friend helped us caravent. Former Earth intelligence turned whistleblower. You're sitting on a diplomatic bomb, Kara said over spiced tea. If the galaxy learns she's alive and with a human, they'll burn stars to silence you. Or, Syria said calmly, we burn them first. So we told the truth. We leaked proof of Syria's lineage, exposed the secret treaty, broadcast evidence of Dominion war crimes, showed the galaxy that she was not a slave but a survivor, a princess who refused to rule through obedience and chose rebellion instead. They came for us anyway, assassins, black ships, weapons wrapped in silence. We beat them again and again, and every victory made the Dominion weaker. Years passed. We never stopped moving, but the galaxy began moving with us. Not a rebellion of flags or thrones, but one built on truth. Syria became a symbol, not of royalty, but of freedom. I watched her rise from broken prisoner to unshakable voice. And one night, beneath the twin moons of a liberated world, I knelt before her. I never freed you to claim you, I said. But if you'd have me. She touched the scar on my cheek, the one I earned shielding her from a blast on Dros 9. You were never my jailer, she whispered. You were my escape. My future. We married not by ceremony, but by choice. No chains. No crowns, just stars and a watching galaxy. They still hunt us. But it no longer matters, because stories survive, somewhere in the dark. A young girl hears the tale of a princess in chains and the soldier, who saw a person instead of a prize, and she dares to believe that love and freedom are worth fighting for.